finally someone in the Biden administration who actually cares, who's getting on an airplane to show concern. That's the good news. The bad news is Jenny Ellen was not in East Palestine. She was in Ukraine. Watch.
And today I'm proud to announce the transfer of an additional amount of over $1.2 billion. That's the first tranche of about $10 billion in direct budget support that the United States will provide in the coming months.
We love you so much that we will give you whatever you want. Anything. A new bicycle, a puppy, a pony, it's yours. We love you. Billions more for Ukraine. Your tax dollars. But that money's not going to be going to the newly poisoned communities of eastern Ohio. Who cares about them? It's not going to be earmarked for the hundreds of thousands of American families who have lost loved ones to the opioid epidemic, an epidemic that was created by Democratic donors at Purdue Pharma. No. That money is going to Zelensky and his wife in Kiev. And that money will complement the more than $100 billion in tax dollars they've already received from the U.S. Treasury. And you've got to think, as they watch this tonight, assuming there's still TV reception in East Palestine, the people who are stuck there are kicking themselves. If only they had paid Joe Biden's crackhead son $80,000 a month for a no-show job, Jenny Ellen might be visiting them today. It seemed like a lot of money.
And one of the things that it is a major, it's a falsehood. And I want your entire audience and anybody that gets this piece of, that gets this clip to understand, there is no such thing as a tactical nuclear weapon. We will describe nuclear weapons and people will say it's a tactical nuclear weapon. We're going to use tactical nuclear weapons. There's no such thing. That explosion that you showed right prior to me coming on, that's the, yeah, there you go. That's the result of a tactical nuclear weapon. Okay, so don't think for a second that a tactical nuclear weapon is only going to blow up the hillside of a mountain. We can do that with a lot of other munitions that we have. But when we start to use tactical nuclear weapons, which our administration has already talked about, and I actually think when I look back, if we really did the research, we were probably the ones first talking about the use of nuclear weapons, and not necessarily the Russians. Although now both sides are talking about the use of nuclear weapons. Once we go to nuclear weapons, and once that sort of, when you talk about strategic bombers, which the Russians have already moved to forward operating bases, and they start to strategically move them around to protect them, as a security measure. We know that the Russian submarine fleet is inside of the Black Sea, and probably in parts of the Mediterranean. And I can tell you one other.
I've been a reporter for 30 years and a staunch advocate of the First Amendment. Much of that time was spent at Rolling Stone magazine. Ranking Member Plaskett, I'm not a so-called journalist. I've won the National Magazine Award, the I.F. Stone Award for Independent Journalism, and I've written 10 books, including 4 New York Times bestsellers. I'm now the editor of the online magazine Racket on the independent platform Substack. I'm here today because of a series of events that began late last year when I received a note from a source online. It read, "Are you interested in doing a deep dive into what censorship and manipulation was going on at Twitter?" A week later, the first of what became known as the Twitter Files reports came out. To say these attracted intense public interest would be an understatement. My computer looked like a Vegas slot machine, as just the first tweet about the blockage of a Hunter Biden laptop story registered 143 million impressions and 30 million engagements. But it wasn't until a week after the first report, after Michael Schellenberger, Barry Weiss, and other researchers joined the search of the files, that we started to grasp the significance of this story. The original promise of the internet was that it might democratize the exchange of information globally. A free internet would overwhelm all attempts to control information flow, its very existence a threat to anti-democratic forms of government everywhere. What we found in the files was a sweeping effort to reverse that promise and use machine learning and other tools to turn the internet into an instrument of censorship and social control. Unfortunately, our own government appears to be playing a lead role. We saw the first hints in communications between Twitter executives before the 2020 election.